Travis Frederick, a couple years removed from the game of NFL football, but yet you're not removed from making a difference in the community. Explain the latest venture with your blockinghunger.org campaign.
We're really excited to launch the Drafting Donors campaign. And what this is all about is, draft day is coming up, and we're really excited to take advantage of that and be a part of that. It's an exciting time for everybody. Everybody's wondering who their team's going to get, how it's going to affect the future. And we thought that was a really unique way for us to do something as well and try and add people to our team. So what we're asking people to do is visit us at blockinghunger.org and sign up for a recurring donation. And what you can do is you can sign up at different levels. $25 a month will feed a child for 2 full weeks. $50 a month feeds a child for a whole month. And at $100 a month, you can feed 2 children for a month. And so what we're working to do is build our team of donors to help us create a more sustainable future in the foundation and help to feed more kids. So our goal is a total of 20 new recurring donors during this campaign, and we want to add 10 donors on draft day itself. So we're really looking to push this out there, and hopefully we can find 10 people that will volunteer to donate $25, $50, or $100 a month on a recurring basis.
So by Friday, April 30th, you expect to have 10 new members of your team. How would you compare the team philosophy from what you excelled in to what you're doing now?
I think there's a lot of parallels there. It's about doing the best that you can to be as helpful as you can. And as an offensive lineman, often you're not seen in the spotlight and you're not directly responsible for the touchdown or whatever it is, but you lend a helping hand to assist others be successful. And that's really the goal of Blocking Hunger Foundation, is to do our best as people and as a foundation to block the hunger to assist these kids to have an opportunity to be successful. Let the playmakers make their plays is what we used to say on the field. And this is let kids go be successful and live a prosperous life.
The fact that you're still doing this and yet, you're coming up on is this your second full season out of the NFL?
This will be, yes.
You're coming up on your second full season out of the NFL. And even though your native state of Wisconsin is where you and your family will reside, but yet you're still committed to the Dallas-Fort Worth community. Most people would just take their efforts and energies on to where they're going to be, not where they were. Why do you still continue to keep roots here?
Well, it's just such a big part of my life and has given me so much. You talk about the Jones family and the Dallas Cowboys, certainly from a financial standpoint, but the way that the city welcomed me in, even after, all of the drama of draft night and all of the things that go along with that. When I came here, people were willing to offer anything that they could do to help. They wanted to see me be successful, and they supported me through my whole career. And even when I got sick, people were doing their best to offer words of advice or encouragement. And so Dallas will always hold a special place in my heart. And so it's important for us to continue to give back in this community that gave us so much.
When you talk about Guillain-Barré syndrome and, the fact that you nearly lost your career, and I presume it was probably even more serious than a career to this illness, but yet you were able to make this magnificent comeback. When you were in the depths of that, how did that even further your hunger to make an impact in the community?
For me, it was all about perspective. Through the whole thing, I was never worried about me, and I was trying to not make it a moment that was a woe is me thing, because there were just so many people out there that were less fortunate than me. I was really lucky to catch it early on in the diagnosis, and it hadn't done as much damage as it could have. I'm surrounded by tremendous trainers and people that are constantly looking at me, so I was able to get that help. And then, I have world-class doctors that were able to help me, every step along the way. To be able to, from a rehab standpoint, to be able to be in the weight room for as much time as I did with dedicated staff members like Coach Wysick and Coach Besh and Coach Smith, there was so much support to get me back there. It made me think about all of the other people that are struggling with something and don't have that kind of support. And it makes you want to do whatever you can to provide more support to anyone that may not be in the best situation currently.
Travis, what has been the feedback? I know you get a lot of great feedback from community leaders and business leaders. What has been some of the feedback that you've gotten from people who have benefited from your foundation?
There's no better feeling in the world than when you get to meet one of the children that's directly impacted by your presence. It's just such a heartwarming feeling. You know, I've been to some of the schools that have the pantries in them, and there are kids there that don't know anything about football. They don't recognize my name at all. You know, it has nothing to do with being a Dallas Cowboy. These people are so happy to see me because I'm the one that's responsible for giving them access to food over the weekend. And that's in their minds they see it that way, but the most important part here is that it's not me. You know, all I've done was organize a way and a conduit to take the generosity of unbelievable donors and people in the community that want to make a difference and channel it into places where we can help kids that are truly struggling.
Travis, a couple last questions before we let you go. What goes through your heart and your mind when you see one of your longtime teammates, Sean Lee, step away from the game?
It's a sort of bubble over of emotions for me. You know, I was so happy for him. I know that it was a really tough decision for him deciding whether or not he wanted to continue to play or retire. He's somebody that always has so much dedication to the game and will continue, I'm sure, in some facet. And I know how difficult it is to make a decision to retire. And so when you finally make that public announcement, generally that means you're sort of at peace with it. Like you've come to peace with it. And then so that made me really happy to know that he's finally at peace with the decision that he made, and he's going to be able to move on. You know, he was a tremendous leader. You hear it from everybody across the board, and it's all true. You know, just a class A type of person that would take you anywhere and go anywhere with you and make sure that you came out a better person on the other end of it. So I was really, really fortunate to get a chance to play with Sean.
How do you see the offensive line right now, being that a lot of people think when your departure led to the breakdown of one of the best offensive lines, especially in the NFL in recent years. And now we're seeing Tyron Smith go down every single year. And a lot of people believe he may be coming close to the end of his career as well. Zach Martin is still a stalwart, but he got injured last year. When you left, did you realize your departure will have such a big impact? And what do you say about the state of the offensive line now that you're gone?
And I think there's a lot of coincidence in what happened with the offensive line last year and me not being there. I don't think there's a lot that's directly related, but I do think that injuries play a huge part in that. You know, when you have those both bookends are hurt and gone. You lose your right guard, who had eventually moved out to right tackle because he so versatile, an all-star, Pro Bowl, all-pro kind of guy. That really makes it difficult. I thought that Connor Williams did a great job trying to be the one that was consistent through the course of the year. And then from the center position, I thought that both Joe and Tyler did a fantastic job. I was really excited to see how Tyler was going to do, being a fellow Wisconsin offensive lineman. And I thought he did a really great job. To me, he did enough to show that he could be a really quality piece of that offensive line for the future. So I'm really excited to see when everybody gets back, gets back into the game. I know that Tyron, he said that Tyron's been hurt every year. He's done a lot. I know he's worked really hard on getting himself ready during this time that he was out. As well as changing the focus, maybe less so on getting bigger and stronger, which is unbelievable to even think that somebody can be bigger and stronger than him, and moving to taking care of his body and making sure that a lot of the time is spent on rehab or prehab to prevent those injuries that happen when you play for the extended career that he has.
What do you tell people who devalue an offensive line in general? I mean, when we look at that, everybody thinks the defense was the Achilles heel of the Dallas Cowboys last year. I personally think the offensive line, just the lack of continuity was something that was the biggest problem for me. What do you say to people who don't necessarily understand how important it is to have that unit be a continuous force?
I think the continuity is the big part in all of it. You know, I may be biased in saying I think it's really important to have a really high quality offensive line that's consistent all the way through the year. You know, but there's an argument to be made that consistent is the most important word in that sentence. You know, not that you can get along without a high quality offensive line, but as long as you have consistency, you know where the breakdowns are going to be. So you'll notice quarterbacks that don't, you know that the right side may not be quite as strong. They'll drift to the left side, and you'll fashion your game plan around things to make it work when it's consistent. But when people are always moving around, there's no chance to get used to those tiny little things and make those adjustments that you need to be successful. So, you know, I think Dallas is super lucky to have the guys that they have in the room. I think it's a fantastic group, and they'll be back to the top levels in no time. I'm certain of that.
Two last questions. You want to draft 10 donors between Thursday and Friday. The Cowboys, ironically, have the 10th pick in the first round in Thursday's draft. Travis Frederick, the general manager. You take the ball cap off, you're the GM for a day. Thursday, April 29th. What position are you taking from what you've seen of this team?
You know, it's tough to say. You know, I've really distanced myself from the future-looking pieces of the game. But I think the thought of the best available player is where I fall in the draft thing. You know, obviously you're not going to take a quarterback. You're not going to take a running back in the first round, even if they are best available. But other than that, I think you move forward with that. And so whether that's an offensive lineman, you know, knowing that the guys are getting older and you're going to need somebody in the future and you can take some time to train that, whether that's, I've heard rumblings about cornerbacks being good. I've heard, you know, tight ends, and there's a couple of linebackers, things like that. So I think that, you know, on a team with so many players and so much ebb and flow, taking the best available no matter what is, I think it's an important strategy.
And the last question before we let you run, Travis, is 2013. Take us back to those memories and what young men will be feeling between Thursday, and you were a first rounder, so we're talking Thursday for the first round, Friday, second and third round, Saturday, fourth through seventh rounds, whether their names are called Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. What does that feeling, what does it feel like?
It's such a roller coaster of emotions the entire time, and it doesn't matter where you're projected to go in the draft or whether you think you're going to get drafted at all. You know, there's always the hope that you're going to end up higher than you do, and there's always the fear that you're going to end up lower than you do. And there are so many pundits and people out there that project where people are going to go, and your agent is talking to other coaches and things, and you're trying to figure it out. And so you're hoping, and then if things don't go your way, you're falling. And then it's, you know, you're just so excited to get the opportunity. All of that dread and fear goes away. But there is a large number of people that, you know, will go undrafted. They plan on getting drafted. They hope and have dreams of getting drafted and don't. And so that's a, you know, a heartbreaking moment. And then they get a phone call and get an opportunity on a team. And so there's so many different things. You know, everyone's experience is a little bit different. And I think that's what makes it unique. But it's an exciting time, no matter who you are, whether you're, you know, one of the people getting drafted, whether you're the fans, the organization, everybody's excited about this time. It's kind of the signal of that new year.
Awesome. Thank you, Travis.